Okay, I've been asked to evaluate and go into detail on the evaluating and disassembly and reassembly of this particular movement. This particular movement is a Waterbury movement. It's a Waterbury clock made in USA, and it has patents of 1910, 1917, 1918, and 1924. So I don't think I've ever done this particular movement, but we'll take a look. First thing we want to do is see if it operates. It came to me with wires on the springs, and we'll take a look. First thing I'm going to do is to wind these up, get these wires off, and just see if it operates. So let's do that. Didn't come with a key, so I've got to determine it. Looks like maybe a number 4 or 5. The 6 is going to be too big on it. Oh, 6 is just right. Okay. Okay, so let's wind this one. Let's hope they're okay. They're coming loose, starting. Okay. Maybe I'll just leave the wires on, at least for now. And we'll also wind up the strike side. So for the person that asked for this, first thing I do is just see what the condition of operation is. Okay. So we wound that up far enough. And let's just see this thing runs. And lift this up just a bit. And it is operating movement-wise. See the escape wheel turning. And let me set this up so that we can test the other parts of this. Alright, looking at the strike side, the gathering pellet is stuck. Gears don't want to turn. Something's jamming up in here. I can't get this to let loose. Wait, now what's going on here? I don't know what's wrong here. Alright, let me turn this until nothing's working. Obviously, that's not working. I'm going to have to just try to examine this and see what I can find in there that's not working right. Alright, after a great deal of examining, there's no way to put this on video. Examining inside, trying to figure out how everything worked, what levers should work where. I could see that it was jammed. Now I got it at least where I can get this to work this way somewhat. It's trying. Yeah, it's supposed to stop. There's a lot of wear in here. And somebody's messed with this lever to the point, well anyway, at least I got it to where the train is moving. Let me do a little more manipulation in here. After bending this wire and messing with these, I can see there's a bend in this. I think the arbor's bent on the end of this, but at least I can get it now to count. Almost, and stop. Okay, now let's see. Okay, that dropped, went into warning. Still not working right. I've got more bending to do because this should not, every time this gets hit, that's really touchy. And it could be because there's just too much wear in the wheels. We'll have to see. One of the things that I do, especially when it's an unfamiliar movement, is take some pictures. So I will take a picture here of the movement, and I will take a picture up here of where a particular set of levers is. Now I'm going to let down the springs and take it apart. Let down key, and let's see where the click is over there. And let me get I can't see it. There it is. I can't let go here. Man. Okay, get the click spring loose. I just need to get the click loose. Man. There we go. And now we can let this down. Okay. And I do have a collar on it. And I don't like the way it's looking, but this screw off. Not off. Well, it just fell inside the movement. And there it is. We got to take this screw off. Let's check this one out. Okay. This screw comes out. The intermediate wheel comes off. The snail comes off. The rack comes off. Okay, I don't know about that. Will come out later. This gathering pallet, there's obviously something wrong there. I can see the end of that arbor is bent. That's not going to be working right. I don't see anything else I can take out right now. I guess we can take well, we'll worry about that later. Well, we can take that off. Let's take a picture of it. Picture of the back. Okay. Now we're going to take this off. Let's get things out of the way. Remove these screws. Ooh. Man, that booger is tight. Why is that so tight? Okay, there's that piece. And this gear should come out. That's the time adjust. Okay, we got things clear here. We do have a screw here that needs to come out. It's through. Well, let's see, there's a spring in there. I don't want the. Alright, that's for the hammers. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can remove. Really would like to take it off the front, but yeah, I don't like this. Don't like it. Let me get something else I can set under here, like a. Set this in here this way. Okay. These, what's with these particular nuts. They got three different size nuts on the back. Obviously, there's been a cobbler working on this one. What we'll do is we'll just use a pair of pliers. And we will loosen these. Okay. Loosen them up. There's a little bitty one here. Okay. That one. Not sure that's even the right thread. Take this one off. Take this one off. Take this one off. Well, maybe. Don't look like it's gonna. There we go. Now here we might have fun. There's a spring in this that's dealing with the hammers. I'm gonna take that screw out of there. We should just now be able to take this plate off. Should, I said. Okay, what's holding us up now? Hammers. Okay. Oh, wonderful. Springs and all kinds of garbage. Okay. I don't know why we got two different kinds of springs in here. I guess we'll see. All right. Next thing to do is take a picture of the arrangement of the wheels and levers. Okay. And we'll separate these out. Let me get another little container and get this vise out of the way. This out of the way. Let's put the run side, and we can take a marker, make it a little easier, and we will put just a dot. Right, this is number 2. We'll put 2 dots there. Number 3, we'll put those there. 4. And okay. And we just mark those so that we know what goes where and which side. Say it's facing the back. We'll take the, wow. Take these, I have to squeeze the springs, get these apart. My goodness sakes. Jeez. That is just awful. Okay, there's your run side. Now the strike side. Let's go ahead and take another picture so we can see here. Oh, what the heck. Okay, let's take a picture this way. Okay. Plate. All right, we've got, again, we should mark these so that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And we can set those in here. And then this is that one. I said that it looked like that arbor was bent and had the gathering pallet on it. And that's exactly right. Let's see if we can get in on that a little bit. Okay. There. See how bent that is? That's why things are not working well with that strike side. And I'm looking at the inside of the plate, and I'm looking at bushings that have been put in the past. And part of the problem that if you're having trouble putting one of these back together is you get bushings in here that are not flat to the inside surface. And you can see all those scratches around that bushing because they were playing heck trying to get the pivot back in. Into the hole because there's a little ridge that sticks up and it's hard to get that pivot back in. So we need to make sure that all of the bushings and everything on these plates are flush with the surface so we don't have that when we go to put it back together. All right, now that's flush, and that's flush, and that's flush. No ridges on them now to catch on the pivots when you try to slide them in place. Make reassembly a whole lot easier. Examine and clean the posts that the springs go on. And like for example, these, there were a number of deep gouges from some kind of abuse in the past, and it left burrs sticking up that made it very difficult to get the springs on and off. Once you have those cleaned up, I use 800 grit, I use a file and then 800 grit sandpaper, and now these slide right on, slide right off. They were a fight to get off before. So now when you go to put a spring on, it's easier to get these things on. So clean and polish them so that this stuff slides on instead of fight you the whole way. Okay. As far as springs go too, you can see how this is all cocked because the spring is pressing on things. What we need to do is make sure after we've cleaned these, that we wind them up tighter. And with as much as this is sticking out here, we need to be able to compress that a little better so that it sits flat. So we'll wind these a little tighter. If you don't have a spring winder, you can wind these things up by putting the spring on here and wire or clamp the wheel to the frame, put the other side on, and then just crank them up with the key. Okay, I'm evaluating wear. This is before I've polished pivots, but I got to look at this second wheel. Let's move in a little bit on it, and I got to say, to me, that's too much wear. That should be replaced, especially since it's the one that drives the center wheel, as well as passes energy onto the third wheel. So that's pretty bad. I don't like that. I'd rebush that. Next wheel, definitely I'd rebush that. To me, that, yeah, some people say they'd let it, but that's too much play for me. Much too much. That one and the next wheel probably is likely. Definitely look like they need to be replaced. The pivot holes, I mean. The escape gear up here, no. It's very, very acceptable. Very much doesn't play. But these I would replace. On the other side, yeah, those don't look nearly as bad. They're not nearly as bad. I mean, when you look at this one, and it'll be a little worse once I polish the pivots. Okay, we've determined that this needs to be replaced. This is on the run side. That needs to be rebushed. This one needs to be rebushed. And this one needs to be rebushed. So we marked them. I mark them. What I do is I mark the unworn side so I know where to file a little bit. So now we've evaluated the run side. Now we got to put the wheels from the strike side in and see where we are there. Alright, we're looking at the strike side now. It seems to be more loose than what I like. And here is the one that carries the gathering pallet. That's the one with the bent arbor. The arbor's bent on that, so we have to straighten that. But it's important that that one be relatively tight. And I don't like that moving that much because that's going to affect the way the pins on the gathering pallet interact with the rack. So I'm going to replace that one as well. The others I'm not concerned about. They don't seem to be that bad. So there's two bushings there that I think we'll replace. This particular movement is going to be difficult to reassemble if you don't take something into consideration. And that's the fact that you have to put so much force on this spring to get the two parts to go back together. The loop and that center of that arbor, and get those in there. This is going to want to be pushing this whole wheel. You can see it's like so. Very crooked. That's going to make it very difficult. We've got to get that pressure off of there. And the way to do that is we're going to have to squeeze these together, this whole thing together, so that there's not as much length in here. Take that stress off of there. So we're going to have to bring that together and then hold it in that position with a wire. So we got to think in advance. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to put those other pieces in. That's true with both of those springs. See, that's what makes it so difficult to get back out too. There's a lot of pressure on that, and once you squeeze it, it comes back together. So, same with the other spring on the run side. That's, you can see if I get this loop on here, it goes on very easy. Look how far off the arbor is from the hole. Okay, and if I get the arbor in, look how far the loop is from where it needs to go. And so these need to be really squeezed together. The spring has to be squeezed in here, like so, to get both the arbor and the loop on. And when you do that, that's putting a lot of pressure on this gear. And that's going to make it very, again, it's cockeyed. It's going to make it very difficult to get the other gears in. So we're going to be taking these springs out and cleaning them anyway. But that's where we're going to have to work to get those springs tied together so that the arbor and the hole and the loop are about the same distance apart as the post and the hole in the plate. Right now the discrepancy is much too great, and there'll be too much pressure put on that gear and make it difficult to put everything back together. Alright, I've cleaned and oiled and rewound these springs back and forth, and here's what I'm talking about. Now, I put this clamp on with it further on when I unwound it, so that now you see the distance between the loop and the center arbor. When we go to install this, you see the distance between the loop and the post as opposed to the center. Now when I put this on, the loop is going to go here, the center arbor is going to go there. Very, very close to being the same distance apart. Therefore this goes on very easily, and you can see now that there's no forces pushing this one way or the other, and that's going to take the pressure off of the gears. When we start putting those in, those wheels, we start putting those in, we won't have to fight against a spring. That makes reassembly a whole bunch easier than when this is let to stick way out and you have to force this together. So that makes it much easier. You can get those so that when these are off, the distance between the loop and the center is the same as the distance between the post and the hole, the pivot hole. Then this slides on very easily, there's no tension, and it'll make reassembly much, much easier. A very important part of putting things back together is understanding how parts work and where they go. Otherwise you can drive yourself crazy trying to figure things out. So always understand how things work. I've got these levers in here now in their correct positions. This lever right here, this one, is pushing against that lever. That's the lift. It lifts not only this, because this is the part that goes into the onto the rack and releases the teeth. Now, not only does it lift that, but on that same arbor, let's see if I lift this up a little bit. And that same arbor is this piece. So when that lift piece lifts, the part that goes out to the rack, it's also lifting that little loop here. And it's also lifting a lever down at the bottom here. Okay, well, this little loop is what, if I can get it, is what the stop pin goes against. There's a pin that goes against that lever. At the same time that it is lifted, this little lever here, this little piece of the lever, is also lifted. So this gets lifted, as does this other one. It releases the stop pin, oh, going the wrong way, and moves, yeah, that should, see if I can get it better here. Okay, here, let's get behind this one. Okay, it lifts that lever on the bottom up so that the pin then stops against it in warning. Okay, all that lifting is done by let's see if I can get in there. Is done by a cam on the center shaft. You can find it. Okay, watch right here. There comes a cam around and it lifts. That's the lever that goes up to that arbor that contains that lift lever. Does the lifting here to release the rack and also to release the stop pin and be caught by the warning pin. And then when that drops off of that cam, that's when everything starts to run to strike. Now you notice there's another cam in here too. It's further in. Now that particular cam is for the half-hour strike. Instead of being a complete bim-bam strike, it's just, it actually lifts this little piece of a lever that, guess what, is on a hammer. And so this gets lifted at the half hour and it just strikes one note on the half hour. Okay, now also to understand how this works, to get things back together, this is what's called a bim-bam strike. So on the hour it strikes two notes for each hour. So bim-bam, bim-bam, bim-bam for 3 o'clock. And those are caused by the pins that are on this wheel. And notice that there are two pins on this side, and it's hard to see, but there are two pins on the other side of the wheel as well. Let me get this out of the way. On the other side, so that one of the hammers goes on this side of the wheel, the other side of the hammer goes on this side of the wheel, so we go bim, bam, bim, bam, and there's two sets. There's a set there, and then on the other side of the wheel, if I can get around there, there's another set. Let me lift this out of the way. So there's the other set. So there's 2 sets, and those are for lifting. Now, which side of the wheel do each of the hammers go on? Well, the side of the wheel that has that cam down there, that extra cam way down, is this particular hammer that has the lift on it, that blued piece. So this hammer is going to have to go on this side of the wheel. The other hammer is going to have to go on the other side. Alright, so when this is being set up, you'll need to make sure that you set this to the point where it's at the end of the strike, and that pin is up against that lever, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, so when you put it back together, you really have to understand what those levers are and what they do. If you understand what they do, you know, does this lever go in this hole, or does that lever go up here, or vice versa? Well, look at the function. The lever on the lower to the right is the one that has to do the lifting, so it's got to go over that way, and you know it's got to go in that hole. If you know that's its function, then you know where it goes. And anyway, so understand the strike mechanism, and you'll understand what's got to go where. Alright, we're going to take this apart now, and we're going to bush the holes that need to be bushed. One of the other things I'm going to do is I'm sick and tired of dealing with 3 different size nuts to go on the pillars of that thing. That's craziness, so I'm going to go into my supply here. And I'm going to find a set of brass nuts that are going to be consistently the same size, make things a lot easier. Right, before we bush these, this is one of the pivots that we've got to rebush, and it's bent to beat heck, so we need to straighten that first, and we'll go do that right now. Okay, we're going to put this into the lathe. I can never see here. Okay. Put that in the lathe. Tighten that down. Okay, and if we turn this on slow, you can definitely see that pivot wobbling and wobbling and wobbling. Okay, best thing to do then is I find a punch with a hole on it. See if I can get it in the view here, and we can put that on. And that will definitely amplify. We can see if that's wobbling. So we bring it up here where we can see it's at its high point. Bend that down. It's not there yet. See how close we are now. Getting closer. That's pretty close. I'd say that looks pretty good now. Okay, well, while we got it in here, we'll go ahead and polish this pivot and clean it up. pivots, especially the ones that we're going to be rebushing. We want those to be accurate. We'll also clean up the arbors while we're here. And we'll do that with all of the wheels. Yeah, there's something scratched on this one plate. Looks like 60. There's a 12. Twist it around till the light's right. Looks like 1292. I don't know, that looks like PW. And then maybe the number 90. 12. 40 maybe? I don't know. PW something or other. Could be 50. Maybe 1250. December of 1950. December 92. Whatever the 60 is. Maybe 1960. I have no idea. Whatever that means. There it is, scratched into the back. I have no idea what it means. Okay, we have those two. Those two. Now, rebushed. And we see that where that gathering pallet is going to be. Let me get my forceps here. And we see there's no play in that now. And there's no play in this one either. That's nice. That's nice. Okay. Okay, those are rebushed. And that should make that thing run a lot better. And they run very smoothly together. So, now we'll do the run side. All right, this one here is going to take 1.5 millimeter bushing, and these both are going to take a 1.2 millimeter bushing, and we'll use 1.25 probably. So, go ahead and rebush these. Okay. that one. Both sides, it makes a little burr on both sides. And then we're going to put this into here. Let's keep pushing out. We want that to be flush on the inside. I'll put that here. Get a little brass hammer. Okay, and that's in there good and secure. And we'll have to check this out. I know it's going to be tight. Okay. And we'll have to broach. Almost, they go from the other side. See where we're at now. There we go. Good. Now we'll just use a smoothing broach. And that gets a tad of oil put on it. Go over and use that oil. And we will smooth broach that. Broach from the other side. And that should be just the ticket. Be okay that way. That's fine. Hit that just a little tad. And that intersects with that center. That's what turns the wheel, turns the time. Okay, that's done, and there's no flopping around in there now. The other two will do the same thing with. Now with those rebushed. There's no shaking that at all now. And everything runs well. In shake. Okay. And I'll run this way. Run. A little wobble in this wheel here. See if I can straighten that out. Others are running true. And looks good. Okay, we're done with the bushing. I put these hammers and everything, these strike side and the hammers back in to see how this should go together. And this movement is facing down. This hammer has to go on first. There's a spring. The problem I found was that whoever put this together before the first time put it on with this collar toward the front. That's not the way it goes. It goes the other way. And the collar has to be toward the back. So we'll put the strike side in just to make sure we have everything lined up and working the way it should before we put the whole movement back together. It's important to understand how the post with the hammers is going to go on. You get a screw and the back plate, then you get the back plate. Then there's this post that has a collar on it. That collar goes toward the back plate. That's permanently fastened, compression fit, to the post. So you can't just slide that off and put it on and off. So you're going to have to mess with these hammers at the same time. Then the first hammer goes after the collar, and that's the one without this little extension. There's a little blackened extension that is lifted by a pivot or a cam here that causes it to strike the half hour. This plain one goes on first, then the one with the extension, then the spring, then you have the front plate, and then you have the screw. So that when this cogged wheel is turning, you're going to get bim, bam, bim, bam, like so. That's what the pins, so those, when this cogged wheel gets put back in there, you have to make sure that it's in such a way that the first hammer is on this side of the cogged wheel and the second hammer is on that side of the cogged wheel, so that you see that that gets lifted like this and like that. That's your bim bam strike. And then this one, the inside one, has to be such that when this half hour cam comes up, that's this one here, that it catches that little extension and lifts the single hammer. So it just strikes the one tone on the half hour as that turns. Okay, and this one strikes the bim bam on the hour. So that gets complicated. Now, you're going to be putting those together. You just have to watch those hammers as you put that together. And that's the way they have to be set up. Unfortunately, when this movement came to me, it was not set up properly. And took me a while to figure out how this is supposed to work. But that's how that's going to have to be put in there. And so, because that collar doesn't come off, that post has to be there, and you have to put the hammers on from the front side. Or put the spring, when you'll have the back plate off. You have the post sticking out this way. And you'll put the spring on, then you'll put on the hammer with the extension, the hammer without the extension, and then the collar will be right there. And then you'll have to work with that screw to get it in as you work with the arbors of the wheels. That gets pretty tricky, but you just gotta take a deep breath and work with it. One of the other things that you need to be aware of is when you put this wheel with the cogs in it, or the posts in it that lift the hammers, you're going to have to make sure that there's a set on this side and then there's a set on this side, that you set them somewhere, set this in the middle so that there's enough play, a little run time before these start hitting the hammers, that you don't run into a power problem. And at the same time that those are there, this one, with the pin in it, that has a stop on it, it's going to have to be near the top where the lever will be to stop it, because this rotates to the position where it's in warning, and then it's at this position at stop. So when you put these together, that has to be at the top. Alright, well, we can start seeing if we can get this together. We can start with this strike side, since it's more complicated. And we'll want, now you see how I have this squeezed together so that the distance between the post and the loop are about the same as the hole in the plate and the post. So we can put this gear, this spring in, and we have to get some things out of the way, work it down. Okay, that's all the way in. The second gear here is going to be going this way underneath the spring, and it's going to go in that little hole there, if I can see it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's the problem. We get weight distribution. Okay, the problem is too, you have to watch out how the wheels fit into the lantern pinion. Sometimes they catch, and you just have to work them in. And then we have the fan that goes in here. Hard to do with that camera in a way, but that's going to go there. Okay. Then we can take our levers. I remember talking about these. I don't know how much these have to be straightened out, but anyway, this is the one that goes through the front, because that's what engages the rack and the rack teeth. So this is going to be on top and go in here. This is the stop here. So you want those approximately in that position to one another. And the other lever is the one that, this is the lift piece that's lifted by the cam. This is the actual lift wire here that will lift this other set of wires, and this is the piece that goes on the cam, that the cam lifts on the center shaft. So that's going to have to go on the bottom, and here's the cam right here. That goes on the bottom, like so. Let the lift wire caught. Okay, so now we have that in place. You can see this is in position with the cam. I need to lift that up. In position with the cam. It's going to be lifted. There's your warning wire. It's going to catch that pin when that goes into warning. And then on the other side, which you can't see right now, is the wire that lifts the other lever. So those are in position. All right, that's your strike side, and that's how it should look when everything is in place, just like that. Okay, again, we've got that center piece with the levers on it. We got the wire, the spring. We got the hammer that has this little extension on it. That let me get this. Has this little extension that will be lifted by this cam at the half hour, and then you have the other hammer, and they all face this way. And so everything's in place. You got this set of levers up here that are on top. There's your stop pin. Here's your warning lever, your stop lever, and the initiating lever. I don't know what the names of these things actually are. And we got to make sure that when this wheel is in place, that the inside hammer is on the inside of that wheel. The outside hammer lift is on the inside of that wheel. Everything is just like that and ready to go. Now it's time to set up the run side. Run side is composed of the spring wheel, the great wheel, and 4 other gears, 4 other wheels. Same thing. We have this squeezed together tight enough that the distance between the loop and the center arbor, that arbor, are about the same distance as the hole in the plate and the post, so that this isn't going to be stretched and be putting pressure on the gears and making it much more difficult to get them situated. So we're going to take the great wheel and we're going to set it in place, and it is down now where it should be. The second wheel is this bigger one, and it can't go this way because that's going to bump into the, so it's got to go this way in this hole, like so. And its wheel also engages the center shaft with its gear. This is the gear that actually turns the shaft, the arbor that is going to contain the minute and hour hands. All right, the next wheel to go in place is this one. Is where it goes. And if it's tough, you know, these can get kind of caught where you can't get it into the hole and you're catching. You got to manipulate the gears to drop it in place. At least here you don't have alignments that you have to worry about like you do with the strike side. And you take the next one, and it's going to go in. This hole. And then you've got the escape wheel, and that's going to go in here. And now everything is ready for the back plate to be put on. That's all you have to mess with. The back plate's going to go on now. And that's where the fun comes, because you just got to take your sweet time about working this down and getting all the pivots and down all the holes. And one of the toughest ones is going to be this little post with the hammers on it. Going to have to go in there. So I found that if you take and you go to put this in place, one of the first things that you can do, see if you can generally line things up. And let's see if you can get the, I can't see again, see if you can get the screw to just barely get started for that center post, for that post with the hammers on it. Put it in place. Get a screwdriver. I don't know if it got started or not. No, it didn't. Well, and just start manipulating until we get these things going. And that's what we'll do. And we'll start. See what we got going here. And if you can get some of these going, once you get these down a little bit, and you'll want to get a nut started on them. And you just try to, if I put this on a box, you need to look underneath and see what needs to be manipulated first to get the pivots in. Once the pivots start to get in, then it'll be a lot easier. Manipulated enough, I got a nut on here and started getting some of these in. Got this center screw started, and we just keep manipulating until, okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. And I think our center arbor in there is one that needs to get down. We just need to see what's the next one that's tight. Okay. Far enough, I think I can get a nut started on this one. Hold it tight. Now I can lift it up and look in here and see where we have an arbor that we can get started. I got vision problems. Okay. See if we can get over here on the run side. Okay. There's one I can get. The second wheel on the run side. I can just pull him over just a tad. Okay, where are you, little guy? You're almost in there. Okay, then we can get this one, and we got that going. We got that going. Those are in. Those are in. Those are in. Escape gear. And now we got a spot for another nut to go. Just to hold things in place. And we can take a look here. And we will pull that lever in place. That lever in place. Now let's see what's the next one that needs to go. Second wheel here. I'll turn that all the way around to there. Third. Okay, what's holding us up here? Those are in, those are in. Give this just a little more tightness. Gradually tighten things up. And we have a lever here. The lever pivot needs to get in that hole. There we go. Let's snap that down. Okay, get that nut started. Get that nut started. And check everything. Okay, it looks like we got all the pivots in. The fan fell out. Okay, so we will set him back in here. And we will have to loosen. So we can find things here. Have to loosen a nut. And spread the plate just a time. We better get this back in space. Okay. And we're going to have to spread the plate just a little bit to get the fan back in. Don't let anybody tell you that getting older, you're golden years. Can't see worth a damn. Okay, something else just fell out. Oh, it was a nut. Nut fell out. Well, let's see if I can't get this in here. Okay, between the plates. Okay, got those in. Okay, post didn't go all the way into the shoulder. Now we are. Okay, so we have all the pivots in. The only thing we don't have in is the so-called verge, but we can take that screw out and put this in without having to spread it. The hammers go now. We've got them in place. Have this little cushion thing that goes on this pin that's threaded and has a little nut. Goes in the end of that thing. Let's see. Anyway, this goes on here. And the nut is going to go on the end. It gets kind of compressed. So get that started. That's not much fun either. Yeah, have to mess with that. After fighting and cussing. That thing, I got that little cushion back on there, and that's what the hammers fall against so they don't make a lot of noise. And then there's some springs that get pulled up. These have been kind of stretched and mangled. They go on this little groove post back here. I don't know, clean those up and see if I can't get those springs on there. The springs go up over the top of the little cushion and they make the hammers work. Okay, not prettiest springs in the world, but they work. Okay, let's see about getting the pallets put back, the anchor put back in. Some people call it the verge, but it's really not a verge escapement. Okay. Check, make sure I got this on camera. Okay, so this is going to go in this way. It's not running. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay. I'll go back here. Maybe. There is a hole there. Okay. It's so hard to see. There we go. Okay, get that in. Get that on. Put the screw back in. Okay, and then we can check that out. And then we also have this that's got to go back on the back. This is the going to hold the suspension spring. And that goes in here. Da-da-da-da. Okay. Yeah. I don't think that's right. So, got that piece on because I wasn't paying attention. Got to take it back apart again because I forgot to put this in. And I have it running. And got to make a little adjustment on the strike side because when it does strike the half hour, turn this. I don't have any hands for it. Anyway, I can't. There's the half hour strike. Here's the hour strike. Okay, close enough. Okay, we have this hooked up now to a improvised test thing just to make sure it's running okay, and I have a beat amplifier on it, and we can hear that. Okay, and we'll turn this forward. Okay, there it's now set to strike the hour, and we'll watch the hammers, which I want to get that out of the way, that out of the way, and you can see the hammers right there. Okay, it works just fine. Okay, Robert, I hope that helps you with being able to reassemble this particular movement, since you obviously have another one. The bag that you sent me contains duplicate parts for a movement, so I'm assuming you have another movement that you're trying to get back together. So anyway, that's the extent of things. I rebent the hammers, so at least I don't know how they've got to be actually positioned because I don't have the case that this goes in. I have no idea where the hammer, the chime bars are. Anyway, it's running very well, and it's ready to go back.